Do you know how many vocations there are? I'm not talking about number of peoples, but types of vocations. No? Well, you start with the single life, right? To be a single person. Most of you are there, except for your parents that came today, right? Single people. The other one would be the second most common, married life. You've seen weddings, right? Yeah. And part of that is taking vows for one another. But the third one is probably the most rare, religious life. In particular, the holy orders of priesthood, diaconate priesthood, and being a bishop. I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about my journey in becoming a priest, because a lot of people ask me, well, Father, why did you want to become a priest when you could have done so many other things? I said, well, let me tell you a story. It starts on the farm in Roy, and it works its way up to really today. Part of it involves my life as a Christian. I entered the Christian life about 8 days after I was born. I was baptized by Bishop Steiner. He was Father Ken back then. He was a young priest with big sideburns back in the 70s, you know. And he baptized me, brought me into the church. And part of that baptism, beginning my Christian vocation, vocation simply means a calling from God, a divine calling. And being called from God as a baby, I can only hear as a baby hears. And really, I was able to hear through the life of my parents who brought me up in the faith. You know, we talked about baptism already, what that looked like, and that I was sealed with Christian dignity on that day. You know, like if you have Play-Doh, have you guys ever played with Play-Doh? Now, you can be in high school to admit you play with Play-Doh, okay? Now, let's say you take something metal, like a nameplate or something, and you press it against the Play-Doh, and you take it away. What do you have? You have a copy of that, an imprint of the nameplate. That's part of our Christian life. When we are baptized, Christ imprints a character on us, His character on us, that says we belong to Jesus Christ. That was part of being marked with the sign of faith, with that mark of the cross on the forehead. That's the symbol of that. So I was marked right away for Jesus Christ. And being on the farm, we had cows, but part of that was we had to move one time. And I moved next door as a 4-year-old to the church, right next door to the priest's house, actually. And so I grew up knowing the priest pretty well, helping mow his lawn, helping clean his gutters, helping re-roof the place. But he also helped us, too. He would come and tell us, like when our trees were ripe, like the apples. He would be picking apples and say, tell your dad the apples are ripe, they're ready. And so I grew very fond of my priest, very close. His name was Stephen Breitenstein, Father Stephen Breitenstein. And part of being a Christian at the church there was, he would call us all the time to serve Mass, and I loved to serve the Mass. Part of it was, he'd just even yell out the back window if we had a funeral. Jeff, come serve. I need a server. You know, that's how convenient it was. Or he'd call my mom. I need you to serve Mass. So as a baptized person, of course, I'd love to serve with him, and it was a real honor. He taught me a lot about being a priest. One thing, though, he said to me one time was, someday you're going to have to replace me. And he walked right up to me like that. You're going to have to replace me. How do you feel about that right now, those words?
Nervous.
Nervous, yeah. That's how I felt. Exactly how I felt. And I thought, no way. Because I'm really called. I know in the bottom of my heart, Lord, that I'm called to be a married person. Because all I want to be is like my father, my dad. You know, I want to have a wife and have kids and have a farm and have a bunch of cows. Right? What a cool life is that. I'll have work every day for the rest of my life, 24/7 with the cows. I'm ready, right? That's how I felt when I was younger, probably younger than you. I was only 10, right? And he asked me that question. Well, every year, he would come into the school and ask me that same question. Someday you might have to replace me, just right in my face. And pretty soon I thought, that's not so bad. That's not so bad. Because I was really attracted to his image, the image of Christ as a priest. And so I continued to serve Mass. In 8th grade, I was called to be confirmed. I didn't really know what that meant, okay? We had some classes that we had to go sit in to be confirmed and learn about the faith. Well, I struggled with that because all I wanted to do was play basketball. I mean, it was a beautiful Saturday afternoon, and why did I have to come? And only in retrospect, looking back, do I know that if I didn't learn anything, I wouldn't have been ready to be confirmed. But one of the most important things they told me about confirmation was, right up again to my face, are you ready to die for Jesus Christ? Sure, why not, right? Which is exactly what Father Liam was talking about earlier. When he said, if someone was coming in with a knife, would you willingly, knowing this, seeing it happening, could you jump in front and give your life for another person? Sure. Yes or no, right? Sure is like, maybe, maybe not, I'm on my way. But I remembered very specifically saying, yes, I would love to give my life for Jesus because I wouldn't mind giving my life for another person. I say that boldly now when no one's coming at me with a knife or a gun, but I just remember having that commitment. Yeah, I want to give my life to Jesus, and I want to live the way he taught me to live. Boom, gung-ho, in 8th grade. Well, that lasted about 3 weeks, okay? But I was confirmed. And in confirmation, we all were there with our sponsors, the people that were saying yes, but they put their right hand on our shoulder and say, this person is ready to die for Jesus, basically. I'm representing you, right? Ready to go. They're ready, okay? Because we don't know all of you that well. And so we have someone else saying for you, and you saying for you, these guys are all in. They're all in, okay? I had that with my Uncle Tony. He was my godfather. And still a good man. He has 3 kids of his own. We see each other all the time. He lives just a couple miles from my house, Uncle Tony. And part of that, looking back, I can see it more clearly. We all lined up. We all came to the bishop. And he said a prayer of blessing, calling down the Holy Spirit upon us. And that was pretty powerful. I didn't realize that at the time, I need the Holy Spirit more in my life. Yeah, the answer was yeah, because of the time that was to come later. But he said very specifically, I came up to him and he had the oil and he'd be sealed with the gift of the Holy Spirit. Whew. Right in the same place where my baptism was signed. He's sealed with the gift of the Holy Spirit. Which is the same thing, having that Plato and that mark on Christ. But this is that Holy Spirit, the fire of God's love into our lives. Be sealed with that gift. You ready to die for Jesus today? The sisters often used to say that as well. I grew up